2 of Facebook is Our Future.
Question that will inevitably arise: in what world would that even be possible? How would society ever get to the point where Facebook would be controlling and monitoring every comment we type, every photo we post, every video we upload? To answer these questions, you might as well ask yet another question. How did society ever get to the point in which we all stopped using public payphones in favor of mobile phones? The answers are the same in each case. We did so because a newer and more convenient technology presented itself, and we as a society embraced that technology. As it relates to Facebook, the technology I'm referring to is called virtual reality. When it comes to the topic of virtual reality, there is both good news and bad news. The good news is that virtual reality will play a central role in ushering in the next phase of the Internet's evolution. By providing a virtual environment on their social media platform, Facebook will allow people to see as well as communicate with each other online, face-to-face, in real time. This virtual environment will also be used to review tangible goods you wish to purchase. It will be used to find true love. It will be used to review real estate you wish to rent, lease, or purchase. It will be used to better train applicants in the workforce by using virtual simulations of real-life on-the-job scenarios, and will also be used to view as well as participate in live classroom lectures and presentations without ever having to leave your house. Now the bad news. It seems that virtual reality suffers from an image problem, and not necessarily one of their own making. A perfect mixture of unimaginative quote-unquote tech experts, both commenting and writing for tech sites, who lack the foresight and vision to see VR outside of strictly a video game capacity are only part of the problem. Take, for example, this opinion piece from Wired.uk entitled "Zuckerberg's Social VR is a Future Nobody Really Wants or Needs." And this is just one in a long line of articles that are critical of VR. This opinion piece by Matt Burgess is critical of the San Juan incident, which I'm going to talk about here in a few minutes, but because Facebook made a simple error in covering that disaster, somehow in this writer's mind that translates to the general public not being interested in the potential of virtual reality being part of social media. This article by itself isn't bad. It's when you get thousands more like it, all parroting similar sentiments, that's how media then begins to craft public opinion. So, as evidenced, you have the problem of so-called tech experts writing negative opinions and articles, but what about planted trolls who are paid and then instructed to downplay and criticize the lack of progress being made with this technology? They are told to go into comment sections and kill any growing enthusiasm towards VR and claim it to be wishful thinking. They help guide the narrative towards the idea that VR is just a passing fad, or it's a joke, or my personal favorite and one that appears in pretty much every article: constant comparisons made to the overhyped yet underdelivered phenomenon known as 3D televisions. And then there are the developers themselves, like Facebook, who do the technology no favors at all when they demonstrate the potential of VR by using juvenile and childish video game examples. Again, referencing the hurricane that hit Puerto Rico, it wasn't the promotion of Oculus Rift VR in a disaster area that bothered me about that whole thing. What bothered me was that, once again, virtual reality is being portrayed as cartoonish, juvenile, childish, superficial, and quite frankly stupid. And Facebook ought to know better by now. This wasn't their first rodeo in San Juan. They had demoed Oculus at least a year prior at Oculus Connect. And based upon what I felt was a lukewarm response then, I felt that unless they had something new to offer viewers, they shouldn't have shown anything at all. I don't speak for anyone else, but for me personally, what offended me most about the San Juan incident was that in a year since their last demo, Facebook had basically brought nothing new to the virtual table. Next year, it would be nice to see actual real people instead of cartoon representations being portrayed in these demos. Along with that, though, you also have more news stories that always seem to be casting virtual reality in a negative or ridiculous light. Here's an article. Look at this. Look at the headline, and then look at the picture. If you scroll down to the comments and you listen very carefully, you can practically hear the howls of laughter. Along similar lines, here's an article from The Verge. The VR dating show makes me never want to date again. The article is about a multi-episode show entitled Virtually Dating, a joint effort between Condé Nast Entertainment and Facebook. Basically, the show sets up blind dates between two people who are wearing VR gear, and that is pretty much it. So you take an already awkward experience, such as a blind date, and you make it 10 times more awkward by making them all wear cumbersome VR equipment just to create a spectacle that viewers can laugh at. Here's another article from earlier this year. This article doesn't really make fun, but it announces that retailer Best Buy removed their VR demo because no one was interested. Now, do they know for a fact that no one was interested? How do we know it simply wasn't promoted enough? I was in Best Buy during this time period to use up some gift cards I had received. I didn't see any display. If I did, I would have definitely tried it out, or at the very least went over and looked at it. Was it even in every store location? And if not, why not? There's a part of me that is somewhat skeptical that Facebook is doing all they can do to get the word out and try to promote Oculus Rift VR. And finally, by the time we get down to the average ordinary person who, maybe they don't follow the technology as closely as others do, what do we possibly expect them to think at this point? Given the fact that they may already have a myopic viewpoint of the world and how the world works and how technology works and all that, they are simply latching on at that point then to whatever they read or hear that tells them that virtual reality, it's just a fad. It's just for gamers. It's like 3D television or something equally stupid. And this brings me to this, and that is one of the goals which I hope to achieve by the end of this video series is, maybe try to convince you, the viewer, to begin to look at the concept of virtual reality in an entirely different way. Instead of looking at VR as simply being used for video gaming, try to start looking at it being used for more enhancing the social media experience of Facebook. Instead of looking at VR displays just containing cartoonish, primitive, circa 1983 music video graphics, try imagining VR displays using real-life images. And by the way, speaking of primitive graphics, just an FYI here, when a computer-generated representation of a person created in 1984 looks more interesting than a computer-generated representation of a person in 2017, you're doing it wrong.